The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Second time in like 7 or 8 days, I got. Randy Peterson, who's the SID of K-State women's basketball, has sent out recently 2 press releases about Ayoka Lee on a watch list. Matter of fact, one just came out titled Ayoka Lee named 2024 Naismith Women's Defensive Player of the Year watch list. But my mind only sees like a couple of words. And then I immediately go to, all right, I read K-State's Lee, and I'm like, all right, she's back. They're announcing that she's back in the lineup. She's healthy. She's ready to play. Because I think that's actually, I feel like I've seen that before. I don't know why. I can't even confirm that. Like, I just felt like I have before. And I'm like, okay, she's back. She's back early, a week early. And no, it's just a watch list thing.
I mean, it could be worse. You could be got like certain news outlets did with a fake version of Billy Joel's new song.
I didn't know Billy Joel has new music.
Oh, he doesn't.
I understand. Yeah.
Oh, now stop that.
He doesn't.
I understand. Listen, when you're at that
does.
legendary status, you know, there's really only one person that has honestly, at a legendary status, hit it out of the park with new music, and that's Elton John, because he's done collaborations with young pop stars that are big.
Yeah. Sure.
I thought Ozzy did a pretty decent job, too.
Ozzy too,
Yeah.
but he's not going to get the mainstream
Nah.
congratulations and flowers for putting out good new music.
Trey said the Rolling Stones get new stuff. I haven't heard it, though.
So they're releasing new singles, but it's from an album that's now, I think, like 3 years old.
Oh.
Like they have a new, I think, what's it called? Angry, I think, is their latest single, and we're, of course, pushing it on K-Rock. It is a popular single.
Well, I mean, it is
but it's
the
still
Stones, yeah.
But it's a few years old.
That's not new. Come on.
That's what bands do, though.
Yeah.
They'll
Right.
really, if they got a good album, at least they feel like they have a good album, record companies will really stretch it out
Right.
and give you 4 or 5 singles.
Right.
But you're getting them 3 months at a time to promote that album. Welcome to The Game. I am Mitch Fortner with Troy Coverdale, David G., and Owen Burke. Full house today. We take you to 6 o'clock, and here in this first hour, we'll be joined by the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. It's the final talk with Mitch before we have Super Bowl 58 here on News Radio KMAN with Sunday's coverage beginning at 1 o'clock. It is Westwood One coverage. Keep in mind, Kevin Harlan will be on the broadcast, the former voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. I want to send a big thank you out to Vista, Bottle Caps, Dara's, and The Fridge for making this coverage here on KMAN possible for Super Bowl 58.
Right on.
Hour number 2, I really want to talk about 2 guys that I really like. Not Troy and David G. Talking about those that are, do a lot of work in Veneer Football Complex. And we got to meet, and I say we, the media, K-State media, got to officially meet them yesterday. That's Matt Wells, who's the new offensive coordinator, assistant head coach, quarterback's coach. He's going to be, of course, working with Avery Johnson, but also safety transfer Jordan Riley. For me, as a defensive player, he checked a lot of boxes for me, and this was just based on a conversation that took 3.5 minutes.
Nice.
You're going to hear that conversation in hour number 2. Guys, it's Wednesday, and you know what that means. AEW Dynamite tonight from the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona. Guys, the AEW tag team titles are on the line. Sting and Darby Allin are challenging the champions. I got a good feeling that we're going to see titles change hands tonight. And then old Sting and Darby Allin in Sting's very last match, which is in 4.5 weeks, storyline guys, will be defending the tag titles, which I think it's against the Young Bucks there, Owen. I'm not exactly thrilled about that match. I don't know if those young bucks need that kind of rub, but Tony Khan's call.
It's tough. It's always tough because I think they're super talented, and I love watching their matches. So you're like, they should be in the title picture, but then at the same time, they don't need them to be good. It's a tough spot. And they're EVPs. It's a very weird situation.
Hopefully they get Sting some Metamucil before he gets out there, and they have his walker ready and his TV dinner and Matlock queued up on the TV.
Oh, he's going to go through a table.
You sound like you need some Alka-Seltzer Plus.
Yeah.
You a little stuffed up?
No, I got home. The wife said, "Hey, don't worry about this. I got it. Take you a nap." And I woke. I took so hard of a nap. I woke up and Sting is still wrestling. So I really, I got here and I was like, "Whoa!"
I think he's 62 now.
Yeah. He's definitely getting that. He's getting the
64.
he's eligible for the senior discount at the French Wholesale Liquor Store.
Might as well just bring out Ric Flair and say to heck with it all.
Flair did that a year ago.
I know.
Where he, quote here, wrestled the last match.
Yeah. For the third time.
Yeah, because he keeps getting divorces and he needs to pay this, what is it, alimony? Is that the right word?
Like the ad says, paying your third trophy wife.
Sting, I think, is still married to the same gal. Shout out to Omaha, Nebraska. That's where Sting is from, those who didn't know that.
Very nice.
I believe he was a Maverick back in the day. I may have to go double check that.
Oh.
Actually, according to Wikipedia, he got remarried in 2015.
Whoop-o.
Shout out to Steve Borden. That's Sting's real name. We're also joined by Derek Young from K-State Online, and I'm pretty sure, DY, isn't Sting your guy?
He was back in the day. I can't say that that's still the case, being 64 and still trying to wrestle. I don't follow it really, hardly at all, but I can't imagine I would enjoy watching him wrestle.
When we were in Orlando for the Pop-Tarts Bowl, AEW was in town the night before, and Troy and I just got done with the show, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go. Uber took 45 minutes to get there, but I got there, got a free ticket buy from the sister she's a sister of the ring announcer. I was like, oh, she heard I needed a ticket. Here's a ticket. I was great.
Whoa.
Let's go.
Whoa.
And Sting made a surprise appearance. And the place, I mean, this is just the respect of Sting. The loudest ovation of the night. I mean, just absolutely popped for Sting. And he's going to call it a career in 4.5 weeks. Speaking of pops, Bramlage Coliseum on Monday night, a 75-70 overtime victory for the K-State basketball team. They end that 4-game losing streak, DY. First of all, the media section for the second year is now basically halfway surrounded by the student section. How loud did it get in your section?
Well, it was loud for pretty much the entire night. I mean, that was the best crowd of the year, unsurprisingly. Still not I don't think it's still the loudest KU game I've been to. I still think that's the one that they won. What was it, in 2018? The year they won the Big 12 championship. I think that it would have been 2019 probably. But the 18-19 season, that February when they won the Big 12, when Cartier-Jada did the windmill dunk. I think that was still the loudest. But Monday night was still pretty kicking there at Bramlage Coliseum. And, the interesting part to me was like when they finally put it, out of question there in the overtime period, even though they were trying to beat themselves once again, you saw it was probably 3-4% KU fans in there, but you saw a bunch of them just start heading for the exit. So I remember that part pretty fondly as well.
Boy, were they loud, though, when KU went on that 11-0 run. I'm going to be honest real quick, just real fast, just complete honesty. I thought last year's crowd was louder. I'm going to be real with you.
Yeah, you might have been right, except Sandstorm part, because I don't think
Sandstorm's off the hook.
Yeah, except I think last year consistently was probably more volume, but this was close. But this year's Sandstorm was probably the loudest moment of the two, just because you didn't get Sandstorm during last year's KU game, since that's a new thing. And they got it this year, probably got that privilege because they have removed the chant for the most part. It was still there, especially at the beginning of the game. I think it was pretty loud. But the other times when it started to fire up, I thought it got drowned out pretty quickly.
Still in an amazing crowd. Still was super loud. We're joined by Derek Young from KCN Online. So, I mean, such a short amount of time to talk about this, DY. So, a lot of things in that game had to go right for K-State to win this game. Some luck was involved as well. I want to ask you about, take away the points. Tyler Perry had a big night, 26 points. He hit 4 10s, was 7 of 15 from the floor. He was obviously a gigantic factor in K-State winning that game. But for you, was there a deep cut in the box score that you would pick out and say, you know what, I look at that and see that as one of the major reasons why K-State was able to beat KU?
Yeah, and I know what you're referring to, and I'll mention it, but I do want to say that Tyler Perry's raw production is not necessarily why I would point him out either. But obviously the 26 points is a huge deal. For me, it was the timeliness of him, right? He was clutch. When KU got their largest lead in the first half, and that's when they believe they took a 30-25 lead just before the teams entered the locker room for halftime. It was a 5-point lead. I was like, this is, it was around 4 minutes left. I was like, this could get a little dicey for Kansas State if they don't finish the half well. What happens? Tyler Perry has a 5-0 run of his own and ties the game up at 30. Then when KU took that 41-30 lead after a very strong start to the second half, and Kansas State answered with an 11-0 run, 8 of those 11 points came from Tyler Perry. So the 2 times when KU really tried to pull away from K-State and to do something there, it was Tyler Perry that put a stop to it. So I thought it was his timeliness. But you talk about a box score thing, and I know this is what you're talking about, and it's a big deal, and I've kind of harped on it as well. And it wasn't a fluke. It felt this way when he was on the floor, and that's Jarrell Colbert. He may have not scored a point in 16 minutes, 0 points. But Kansas State in those 16 minutes was plus 18. Now, plus minus, kind of a flawed stat. I wouldn't take too much stock into it most of the time. But when you only play a certain amount of minutes and in a game that's decided by single digits, your plus minus is a positive 18, I think that's pretty telling. So I think Jarrell Colbert, and we felt it when he was in the game. I mean, his passing out of the post was something that we have not yet seen this year, and that was huge. And just the way he can run the floor and play defense. And now I think he gets tired a little quickly, and that's why he only played those 16 minutes. But, man, the way he defended the rim was really, really good. And, you're blocking shots, just taking guys away at the rim. Hunter Dickinson, he still got his numbers, but I felt like Kansas State contained him pretty well, actually. They made him really, really fight to get those numbers. He wasn't as efficient as he normally is. And I thought Jarrell Colbert had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, second chance points, him rebounding with one hand, and also getting to the free throw line a little bit. Yeah, I told the boys yesterday, like, Hunter Dickinson is obviously a great player, but there was never, maybe once or twice on like a hook shot that looked really good. Never did I think, God dang, is that guy just out of this world insanely good.
No, it didn't feel like that. They got him in a little bit of foul trouble. He really wanted to be the villain in that game. And obviously he was. The students razzed him more than anyone, but I don't think he ever got going to the level that he wanted to.
That's why I saved him for last in the lineup. I knew he'd get some boos, and that'd carry over to Bill Self in that announcement as well. Bill Self was pretty unhappy with the officials in that game. I had eyewitness to that. Let's see here. Sticking with Jarrell, I totally agree with everything you said. The plus 18 and the plus minus in 16 minutes didn't score, but man, did he help set the tone with the assist on the Cam Carter 3. And then on the first defensive position, he blocks Hunter Dickinson. Really appreciated that work from him. Have you enjoyed the change in the starting lineup with Day and Jarrell now starting?
Yeah, and I think you get a little bit of energy for whatever reason that's working. And I don't know if I could put my finger on as to why, but that little changeup at least stunted some of those negatives that were happening in the first few minutes of games. And that's not to take anything away from anyone. And honestly, like I said, I don't know why it's working more, but sometimes combinations and the way that you trot out lineups and win just has a different feel to it, and it triggers something. And that lineup certainly is. And I think it'll be interesting when David Gasson gets a little bit healthier, because I don't think he was removed for a purpose. I think he was removed for health reasons, right? So do they stick with the 3 guards with Day playing in there and Kaluma at the 4 and just one big, or when does Gasson get healthy Do you play him and Colbert together? That'll be an interesting dynamic for them to kind of navigate when the time comes.
Speaking with Derek Young from K-State Online, we'll take a break. We have one more segment with DY, and that's after a timeout, but we'll talk about, obviously, more K-State basketball. Has the win over KU helped us regain hope that the Cats can make the NCAA tournament? We'll get DY's first impressions of Matt Wells and Connor Riley in their new positions. And how about a Super Bowl prediction from DY when we come back on the game? Thank you, Owen, for that live game sports update. Coverage of the Chiefs in Super Bowl 58 begins at 1 o'clock from Westwood 1. Brought to you by Vista, Bottle Caps, Dara's, and The Fridge. We're back with Derek Young from K-State Online, and we are back on the game here on News Radio KMAN. I'm Mitch Fortner. DY, another question about K-State basketball, men's, Jerome Tang's team. So the win now puts K-State 5-5 in the Big 12, and he is, I've been calling it the magic number, and he's been referencing the record 9-9 in conference play, and that if a Big 12 team gets to 9-9, they deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. As a matter of fact, I'll actually give you another magic number. And that magic number is 54. Against Oklahoma State, K-State's Big Three scored a total of 50 points, lost by 3. Against KU, they scored a total of 58, win by 5. So maybe that magic number is 54. But let's talk 9-9. DY, did that win against KU bring hope back for you that the Cats can make still an NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think you said it, that 9-9 is probably the worst that you can do and still make the NCAA tournament. I don't know if it's a guarantee that you make it, but you at least put yourself in the conversation. And guess what? All you got to do is take care of business at home and you get to a 9-9, right? And that includes, I'm probably going to forget some of these. That's a win over BYU, Iowa State, TCU, and West Virginia,
Nailed it.
I believe.
Yep.
Those 4. So you win those 4, you're at least 9-9 because you got 5 already. So all you got to do is win the home games. Now, personally, I think it might take stealing one on the road in addition to doing that. And there's going to be opportunities to do that as well. Like Cincinnati's actually fared pretty well this year in their first year in the Big 12, but I don't know that Kansas State should be afraid and think it's impossible to win at Cincinnati. And then look at Texas. They're the weirdest team in the Big 12, by the way. They are 1-4 at home in the Big 12 this year. So you got to feel like that game in Austin's probably pretty gettable as well.
The Big 12 and Big 12 play combined 22-44 on the road right now. So the road team's only winning a third right now of the Big 12 contests.
And Texas is the only one with a winning record on the road.
Yeah.
They just can't win at home.
A couple of teams are 500, but you're right. Yeah, Texas is the only team with a winning record. The only thing I worry about is if you just win out the home games. I hear the point. The thing is, West Virginia is not a quad 1, and K-State right now only has the 1.
Either.
Yeah,
and TCU might not be either. They're right on the border, but you would get quad 1 wins at home against BYU and Iowa State.
Will the Big 12 champion have any less? Or let me put it this way. How should I phrase this? Well, the Big 12 champion, I'm thinking losses here. I mean, would you expect anybody to win the Big 12 this year and have anything less than 6 losses?
I think there's still a chance with a 13-5, but this could be the first time that, at least that I can remember, that we see a team go 12-6 and win it. But if it's 12-6, you're talking about probably being shared across 3 or 4 different teams. I
mean, gosh. Halfway done with Big 12 play, and you got teams already. Multiple teams. Nobody has less than 3 losses in Big 12 play right now. It's chaos.
Yeah, and KU 6-4. It's interesting. As much consternation as there's been, as much negativity as there's been, as much disappointment as there's been amongst the Kansas State fan base right now, and some of it is deserved. Maybe some of it isn't. But after Monday night, they're only 1 game behind KU in the Big 12.
Yeah, it's crazy. Right? And Houston has an extremely tough schedule now coming up, and they still, even after that hiccup against KU, it was a pretty big hiccup. They're still looking pretty solid. Quickly, let's go to football. I want to get your first impressions. Matt Wells and Connor Riley. Connor Riley now has received, co-offensive coordinator along with Matt Wells, who's also going to coach quarterbacks. We got to hear from them yesterday, especially with Matt Wells. What was your first impression?
Driven, prepared, and ready. It seems like that time away from being a full-time coach allowed him to kind of really put himself in the right mindset, in the right disposition for this opportunity. And he's probably fired, and he is fired up for it. He really wants to win a championship, and that's one of the reasons why he went to Kansas State. He trusts and believes in Chris Kleiman. But I mean, I'm not going to lie. I also got the impression of someone. He's driven to win a championship at Kansas State as an assistant coach, but I think he's driven to kind of get back into the upper echelon of coaching as well.
All right, DY, before I let you go, Super Bowl on Sunday. We'll have coverage on K-Man beginning at 1 o'clock, thanks to Westwood One, and also thanks to our sponsors, Vista, Bottle Caps, Dara's, and The Fridge. Chiefs and 49ers, who's your money on Sunday?
I haven't done anything yet, but I would put it on the Chiefs. They got the better quarterback, and despite being contrary to popular belief, probably the best defense of the two, too. Now, I know they're both good defenses, but, man, when you have the better quarterback and the better defense, it's hard not to pick you.
I think Brock Purdy got lucky in that NFC Championship game. The play that turned it around should have been an interception. And then
they got lucky against the Packers the week before.
I didn't watch that game.
Yeah, well, I'm a Packers fan, so that's why I knew. But Green Bay had San Francisco on the ropes.
Doink.
Yeah.
Doink. But
don't remind me.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
All right, DY, we'll let you go. Thank you for your time. We'll talk again next week.
Appreciate it.
Derek Young from KSN Online joins us here on The Game. Of course, subscribe to KSO for the latest nuggets behind the scenes of Kansas State athletics. A lot of recruiting as well. We'll have to catch up on recruiting here at another time. But let's take a break, because when we come back from Las Vegas, Nevada, it's Mitch in Vegas.
Whoa.
But not Mitch Fortner. It's literally Mitch Holthus in Vegas. He'll join us next. We continue with the game on K-Man, and we now head out to Las Vegas. Super Bowl Sunday, this Sunday, between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers, a rematch of Super Bowl 54. We're now joined by the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus from Vegas. Mitch, how has Super Bowl week been so far in Sin City?
Oh, crazy. The opening night is, I don't know, we saw Carrot Top like 30 years later. Didn't age well. Blue Man Group, all we needed was like this year's version of Evel Knievel to like ride a motorcycle into the crowd, and we were good. It's been nuts. The media coverage of this event just gets bigger and bigger every year. It's really like a mini Olympics because it gets covered by the world. You're like, why is Malaysian news here? But they're here. I mean, so it's just nuts. And to be in this game 4 times in 5 years is crazy to even think about.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure you're a veteran now of, you know how things work on Super Bowl week. Is there a part of it you enjoy the most?
I'm sorry, hit me again.
Is there a part of Super Bowl week, the whole process of the media stuff or whatever event that you really enjoy the most?
That's a good question. The game. You go somewhere in all this is a football game, right? And then you get to the game and you realize it's so historic and so big. I think of when I called Super Bowl 54, of like every word has got to be just right. And then to do it again in 55, and that was no fun. And then 57, same thing. I'm sure you've seen they have like handwritten every word that I said in Super Bowl 54 and 57, and people have framed it. They put it on a canvas over an arrowhead. And so that's why I'm pretty careful with it. And what I do. So we're actually getting ready to take a helicopter to the Grand Canyon. You're going to see award-winning video that will be posted by our 65 TPT award-winning crew. And we're getting ready to do that right now. So it's pretty crazy.
Okay, well, I understand we need to get going here a little bit, but have you been to the Grand Canyon before?
I have.
Okay.
I was with Clark Griswold. We just stood and looked at it and then took off again. But no, it's been a long time ago. But yes, I did. And I talked to Felix Enjadike-Ozama, not to change the subject. Talked to him this morning. He's excited that he's getting an opportunity to play in this game. I said it's just Brock Purdy, so it's just Big 12, buddy. So, but anyway, then he brought up the win the other night in basketball. But Felix is excited to get a chance to play in this game.
Yeah, he's pretty familiar with that quarterback, and I hope that beer you shared with Clark was a pretty tasty one.
Yeah, good talk, Russ.
Let's talk about 49ers. Obviously, Brock Purdy's the quarterback. I'm pretty convinced he sold his soul to the devil to be in this spot. But what's the keys? What's your thoughts on the 49ers in this second round in the Super Bowl against San Francisco?
Yeah, damn Yankees was an excellent play, right? Same thing. Honestly, most efficient team in the league. They're outstanding. Best first down team in the league. Best second down team, fourth on third down. They're number one in the league in scoring off first possessions. Everything's a first with them. They like to start fast. Quick strike drives. They're second in the league only to Miami. They love to start fast, stay on the field, get you down, and then kick you. But honestly, that's the way Baltimore was. That's kind of the way, I know it's the way Miami was, and kind of the way the Buffalo Bills were. So this is a battle-tested, tough Chiefs team. We'll be ready for the task.
One more thing. I know the team isn't allowed to gamble, obviously, on sports, but even go to the tables or slot machines. Are you allowed to go play blackjack if you want to?
No. I could be fired on the spot.
Okay.
I kid you not. I could be fired on the spot. Matt McMullen, our senior team reporter, and I were joking about it. Like we got a sandwich at Subway. We're like, is this a game book? If you have a game book, we cannot be. Honestly, the message is loud and clear. I'm ready to go. This is a paradox that we're here playing this game because no one that's a part of a team, and I'm an employee of the team, can be involved or even think about gambling at all, or they could be immediately fired on the spot.
Mitch, you have the coolest job in the world. Have fun on Sunday. Enjoy the Grand Canyon, and looking forward to our next conversation about a Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory.
Well, you're getting tipped off about it. Just wait till we do this. You'll see the content up soon once we get it edited and put out. But it's part of the Super Bowl experience. It'll be on the franchise. It'll be on some other of our platforms. So just be looking for it. You got the word first.
Thank you so much, Mitch. We'll talk to you next week.
See you, boys.
That's Voice of the Chiefs. Mitch Holthus here on the game. So first reaction, it wasn't in a helicopter, but I did once fly over the Grand Canyon on the way to Las Vegas in a Southwest airplane.
Whoa.
And it was on our left side. So the people on the right didn't get to see it.
Sure. Angry.
But I just happened to sit on the right side of the plane, and the pilot did us a very slight solid of tilting it just a little bit.
So you're saying you were a right winger on that flight?
No, it's a left winger.
Right side, left wing.
Yeah, I got you.
Got the stones.
More of a moderate because I was,
I know. Yeah.
The stones to go up in a helicopter. Does that frighten you at all to think about?
My parents love going up to South Dakota. What's like the Sturgis area? I can't remember what they call it up there, but they love it up there.
Black Hills?
Black Hills.
Yeah.
Yes. And they have done it multiple times where you can go on helicopter rides and they'll take you all around. I don't know how much it is, like a couple $100 or something, maybe $100 a person. I don't remember. And they loved it so much, they would do it a couple of times in a row.
Wow.
I'm like, I didn't know y'all had this much money.
Yeah, what's up, dog? Hook it up.
Always had to rent the cheap tux for prom. No. They always recommend South Dakota. I've only been to Vermilion, which is barely over the border. Grand Canyon, and I'll never forget when Mason Voth told me the story of he and his brother had no interest in going to the Grand Canyon when they were kids, so they just stayed in the hotel room and played video games.
That's great.
I'm like, how in the world could you even think that way? The Grand Canyon is the most beautiful place I've ever seen with my own two eyes.
Wow.
From ground view level, like it doesn't look real.
Yeah. Mr. Voth must not have a very heavy hand. Because most people say to me, he's like, get in the car right now or I'm going to throw you in the Grand Canyon.
I could kind of understand Mason's viewpoint there. Now, don't get me wrong. If I was in his shoes and I stayed at the hotel and played video games, I'm regretting it right now.
Yeah,
I would much rather, being older, I'm like, yeah, I wish I would have went. But
sorry to cut you off. I do think it stinks, though, for Mitch that I'm really just thinking from how I would feel about it. This is just me talking, but I'm a guy that likes to go play some cards.
Yeah.
And I like to play a little bit of blackjack. There's hardly been an hour I've spent in Vegas without playing a little bit of blackjack or some poker or something. And he can be fired on the spot for even sniffing a casino.
That's insane.
And that's the NFL.
That's crazy.
I knew the players couldn't, and I honestly, and I understand that, especially if, of course, sports betting. You know, that's an obvious thing to say. But I just still feel like it's kind of a stretch that, and maybe they're just trying to protect the players or trying to protect the franchises, but I don't know.
Mitch is dead on right in talking about how odd this is at this point. You're in a town that the NFL has tried to distance itself from for decades. And now here you are with the biggest game, your championship game. Oh, and by the way, how many ads during the game will be for sportsbooks?
And there's a team there now, for crying out loud. There is a NFL associated team in Vegas, and you're like,
well, for the longest time, there wasn't anything in Vegas with sports.
Not at all.
I mean, other than the AAA team and UNLV.
Right. But now you have, first of all, the WNBA made its way in. NHL, Golden Knights, I mean, they've been to a couple of Stanley Cups. Didn't they just win one?
Yes.
And now the NFL is there, and soon Major League Baseball.
Maybe.
I think they're supposed to go.
Boy, the mayor threw some cold water on that, didn't she?
Yeah, that's such a weird situation.
I've never seen a mayor be like, you guys should probably turn around and go home. That's crazy.
Right?
Crazy.
By the way, fun fact, Manhattan, Kansas today is warmer than it is in Las Vegas.
Ooh.
Suck on that, Mitch.
Yeah.
Actually, he's going to see the Grand Canyon. He'll get over it. He might have a speed still.
Yeah, he's cool.
It does get a little chilly in Las Vegas once in a while.
Occasionally, yes.
Because we got into the 60s today, and I think the high in Vegas is 57.
Mm-hmm. That desert.
It's weird thinking of Vegas because it's just middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Outside of Vegas, it's desert, and it can get that cold, but it does cool off.
I have had occasion to wear a long sleeve shirt in Vegas.
It gets cold in the desert, Mitch.
Let's take a break. Dave G just scared me a little bit. So we need a reset.
Dave's planning his next visit to the Mom Museum right now.
When we come back, we'll finish up hour number one. I like what Oklahoma did last night, paying tribute to Toby Keith. That's coming up next. BriggsAuto.com presents Passport to Cabo. All expense paid trip to Cabo. 2-bedroom beachfront condo at Villa La Valencia and a flight for two out of Manhattan Regional Airport. Stick around for details as the first location sponsor is coming up next week. So be prepared to get ready to become a finalist so you can be heading to Cabo. I'm sorry?
It sounds like all you got to do is show up that day and we take you to Mexico. And then you party. That's what it sounds like.
I'm in.
That would be awesome. Like, just show up to the airport, walk right onto the tarmac, just walk out there.
I mean, it sounds like a pretty cool idea to go vacation where Jerome Tang vacations.
Ooh, that does sound like a pretty good idea.
So again, stay tuned for details as our first sponsor location to become a finalist is coming up next week. Meanwhile, K-State Hoops plays at BYU on Saturday, which is a 9 p.m. tip-off on ESPN2. K-State women's basketball hosts Oklahoma State Saturday at 4 o'clock. Speaking of BYU, Oklahoma hosted them last night for a basketball game. All Sooners, 82-66 to get to 17-6 on the year, as Javian McCollum goes off for 20 points, 16 from Milos Uzan, 11 points from Jalen Moore. But it was also kind of a sad night at Lloyd Noble Center because they paid tribute to a longtime celebrity fan of the Oklahoma Sooners, and that's Toby Keith, who passed away recently at the age of 62 after a battle with cancer. Oklahoma played tribute last night to Toby Keith by placing a guitar in a red Solo cup where he would normally sit at Oklahoma basketball games.
That's nice.
Oklahoma also announced yesterday, because Oklahoma will be hosting Oklahoma State on Saturday for Bedlam, and the team announced that in honor of Toby Keith, every drink they sell for that Bedlam game, they are going to serve in a red Solo cup. I don't know if the money's going to go anywhere in particular or if they're going to pocket it all and it's just a way to pay tribute to Toby Keith. But I did think that's a pretty neat gesture.
That is cool.
I know there's a joke in there somewhere of, Toby Keith's spot being held for a guitar was in his spot. And a whole capacity thing at Lloyd Noble Center because Oklahoma doesn't honestly draw a whole lot of fans.
Yeah.
But Toby Keith showed up all the time to games. See, in my opinion, was one of the most loyal Oklahoma basketball fans you could find. It was really sad news to hear about his passing. Played at Country Stampede a number of times. Never saw him live. Tyler Jackson used to work here, as a great Toby Keith story of meeting him at a Country Stampede the other night, but I just thought that was a really cool gesture by the Oklahoma Sooners to reserve his spot for that game. Toby Keith passing away. What was that, just a few days ago, right?
A couple days ago.
Yeah. So, hour number 2, another busy hour number 2. We'll get your Taylor Swift Super Bowl prop bets of the day coming up at 5:40. Segments 1 and 2 of hour 2 are going to be dedicated to two guys I really enjoyed being around at yesterday's K-State football press conferences. One of them is a player. The reason he really earned my appreciation, my respect, and honestly trust in, because he described how he plays football. And by the way, where he used to play football, because he's a transfer, used to rub shoulders with a late-night talk show host.
Whoa.
They used to run into each other, and maybe they're best friends. I don't know, but it's kind of a neat story. And then the other one is a coach. It's Matt Wells. I like Matt Wells, and I'll tell you all about Matt Wells when we come back for hour 2 of the game. That's coming up next in Soldier Local News. Stick around. You're listening to The Game on News Radio KMAN.